Shooters Connection offers products for competition shooters by competition shooters. With over 80 years of combined competition shooting experience, Shooters Connection is staffed by master and grandmaster shooters who live the shooting sports every day. We offer same-day shipping. Shooters Connection also sponsors over 100 of your matches every single year. So when it comes to finding everything you need to compete as a beginner or a seasoned grandmaster, Shooters Connection is the only name you need to know. Online at shootersconnectionstore.com.
You want me to do the intro?
Jeff's doing the intro. No, he's not.
What? I thought I was doing it. All right,
Do
fine.
it.
Fine, Jeremy, you do it.
Jeez, it's already terrible. This is the hit factor. Jeff is coming at us from Ada, Oklahoma, but he actually has internet tonight because he's not at his house. He is stealing internet from a undisclosed location.
Yeah.
But he has internet, so it's working fast. And we have special guest coming at us all the way from Maine, which doesn't mean anything to anybody, but Mr. Potato. And
Mr. Potato.
You know what? I can actually on this Riverside deal, it shows his name, but I don't actually know his name because I've only ever known him as Potato on the Discord. And so I partly wish that we could like black his face out and like alter his voice so that he could live in this like world of anonymity that is the Discord Potato chat. But
I should have worn a luchador mask painted like Potato.
Yes. Okay, so we have Potato from Discord. Okay, what is your actual name Saul?
My actual name is Saul.
Do you go by Saul?
I go by Saul.
Okay.
I have another one.
Well, yeah, I was just curious.
Are you known by Potato in other circles?
I am not.
Really?
So I don't have I don't have the social medias. I don't have a stable online presence. So on Discord, I'm Potato for Hire. Nowhere else in my life am I a Potato for Hire. Everywhere else, I'm just Saul.
I love it. That's great. Okay, so Potato is a really good shooter. I've actually really wanted to have him on the podcast for a while because he always brings great insights into the Discord. Like he's actually probably one of the saving graces of the Discord.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, cause like he's all like the workout stuff, like he's intense about like when we talk about like shooter rankings and power rankings, like he's really into that. Like he just loves the sport. He lives, eats, breathes the sport. Like he's really into the training, the shooting. Anytime we have contests or anything like that, like he's all in it. And so he's a really interesting guy on the Discord. Even this is the first time I've ever like spoken to him face to face across the continent.
I agree. He's always adding, like, you often say stuff on the Discord. I'm like, God, we need to get this guy on the podcast. We got to talk to him more.
Yeah. The only downside to it is he's smart.
Mission, and it happens quite a bit that I enter a community and I really, really impress people. And they get to know me, and I get to see that disappointment. And I'm there for the disappointment. And that's kind of what I live for. And I start over somewhere else.
Lucky for you, Jeremy's really bad at hiding how disappointed he is in people. So
that's true. So this might be the end of your shooting career. You never know.
Well, it depends what I say in a few minutes here.
Yeah. We'll see how disappointed we get. Yeah, that could be. So we do have crazy stuff happening in USPSA right now. We will be talking about all of the Yemen stuff and the board stuff and all of that craziness. But more importantly than that, because I find it cooler and more important, is that we just had the biggest match of the year so far, as far as like the number of people that were shooting it, like the quality of competition at it. And that was the Dragons Cup down in Odessa, Texas. And it's a little bit crazy that in Odessa, Texas, that they have been able to put on a match that has become as popular as it is. because Odessa, Texas is rough. If for those of you who aren't familiar with Odessa, it's only there because of all of the black stuff in the ground, meaning the oil. That's the only reason why Midland, Odessa is a thing. Otherwise, it's just a dirt pit. So, there were two very interesting races. Being Carry Optics was probably the most, like the number of high level shooters at this match was pretty crazy.
Holy cow! Yeah.
I mean, just insane level. I don't even know. There's like 15 or 16 GMs, maybe 20 GMs in Carry Optics alone. The first 13 places are GM. So
wow,
that's pretty nuts for just a level 2. Potato, you shot this last year, didn't you?
I did. It was a phenomenal match then, and it was really trying circumstances. I mean, the weather was not cooperative. It was like classic West Texas heat, even though it was just in May. So I know they moved it to April to try and sort of beat the heat, and they still got a dust storm and a cold morning of rain, and every single person I've spoken to who was there still raves about the match. So if people are walking away from a match in pretty trying conditions, that enthusiastic, that says something. And it probably says the rest of us should pay attention and do whatever they're doing at Driving Scout Club.
There's a thought.
Yeah. So, I know lots of people in that club that I've known for a long time, but I haven't made it down for the actual match. But from what I can see, like they build really, really good stages. Like that is almost first and foremost what everybody says when they come out of it is these were the best stages we've shot this year. And what I think has happened because of that reputation they've gotten is that good shooters want to go where there are good stages. And so it is like, the first couple years, there were a couple of big names that went. I think they had like maybe Max and JJ came in and taught maybe kind of around the match, or had taught at that club there before. So they kind of brought those guys in, and I could be getting that wrong, but that was kind of what I thought I saw as an outside observer. And then they had this reputation of great stages. And so when you have a couple good people and then really good stages, other good shooters want to shoot in those conditions. They want to shoot against good shooters, and they want to shoot great stages. And then I think this match sold out in what, like, it was 2 like minutes? 10. Yeah. It was extremely quickly. Like, it sold out really, really fast. And I think it's due to people want to shoot against the best shooters in the country, and they want to shoot great stages. What I've not heard mentioned at Dragons Cup is, as far as like how great it is because their prize table was just so great. And I'm not, they may have had a great prize table. I really don't know, but that hasn't been like the reason for people wanting to go shoot this match.
They almost certainly did. They had a great prize table last year, and nobody talked about it then either. And just looking at the scores across the years, I know several people's feedback last year is that the hit factors sort of had crept up a little bit. And I think the stage designers took that to heart, because this year, globally, in any division, the hit factor dropped by a full point. It went from sort of high 7 average to low 6 average in the high cap divisions.
So who's in charge of like stage design at this match? Do you know?
I don't. I know the person in charge of the range, and I assume has a role in recruiting the stage designs, but I couldn't. Marco Davis.
Yeah, I haven't heard like who, like if they have a single stage designer, or if they kind of farm that out to like lots of people.
I think somebody in the Discord knows. Let's see.
Yeah, somebody in there might know.
And they have they're willing to sort of do some bold things. So last year they had a visual start before everyone had a visual start. They were willing to put some sliders and some unfamiliar movers out there, and I saw they did that again this year. And so people being willing to be bold without being gimmicky is a pretty hard balance to strike. And so we should reward clubs that do it.
Yeah. Yeah, so they've done a great job. The only thing that I saw that could be, again, this is from somebody who was not at the match, that could be constructive criticism for him is like the DQ level was a little bit higher than you would see at a normal level 2 match, and just based off like Max Michel had several clips of stages that he shot. It wasn't even full stages, I don't think. He had several clips, and a lot of those, it looked like there was a ton of uprange, like movement, like uprange movement on a draw to a target that was kind of on like a 180-ish line. It looked like there was quite a bit of that at this match. And so like that, you know, is that fine at a match? Yeah, it's fine, but I think maybe you can mitigate that by maybe not having quite as much uprange movement going to a target that's kind of on the 180. Again, and I was not there, so like that, if that's bad criticism, then they can just say, hey, he just doesn't know what he's talking about. And that's okay. That's just what it looked like from an outside observer's perspective.
Yeah, could be.
Was it 30 odd DQs out of 440 shooters?
Yeah, I didn't actually look at let me look.
Twenty-four. That's about 5%. I know I've spoken to Ray Hurst about this in the past, and he says 3% is about the global average. If you're talking about a level 2 or a level 3 match. So anytime it creeps much, there have been some matches out here on the East Coast that were closer to 7 or 8%. When you start talking about every single squad loses a shooter, then there's some stage design or questions.
Yeah, either a bad RO calling DQs that aren't, or stage designs that are really pushing shooters in really kind of just unsafe situations. And that again, I've
heard some interesting theories from ROs about what constitutes a 180, who don't really seem to understand that a muzzle is a circle, so you actually can see into it from about 200 degrees.
Right. Yeah, that's the 180 call that's a tough one. You know what? You wonder if the sport, if it ever got enough money into it, that we'd be shooting with drones floating over the top of each bay, and it just reads where the muzzle of the gun, like it can always read where the muzzle of the gun's at, and just have so that if a drone just sends off a red light, you just automatically stop the shooter. That'd be kind of cool if we could do that.
For me, because I really depend on moving really quickly between positions and nobody having 100% confidence.
That's one way to do it. You are not alone in using that technique to not get called for a 180 violation. But okay, so results. Let's look at carry optics. Max Michel won.
Over 200 shooters in CO.
It's technically the fourth largest or third largest CO match in the U.S. ever.
Yeah.
It's behind 2022 and 2021 nationals, but more shooters than 2020 for carry optics.
Damn.
And that makes sense because carry optics nationals is in June or July this year. It's in the summer, end of June. So it's, the carry optics national is coming up. It's before any other ones. So it makes sense that everybody is shooting their CO gun right now and getting ready for that, because that is the nationals that's coming up most quickly. And there's lots of time after that to switch to a different division. So I think that makes sense. Given who all is shooting it, I thought the results were not shocking, but a little surprising. Because Max Michel won. Mm-hmm. And if anybody saw my power rankings, for my beginning power rankings for 2023, I think I had Max in 7th. He was like there's like 7 guys in the sport that are great, and I had him at the bottom of that.
Yeah, you did.
And he, you know, he showed me wrong. Like, he made me look bad. Yeah, I had him in 7th.
So not to get too much into Max Michel analysis, but he shot phenomenal points. Everybody knows he's going to be competitive on time in any match he's in, and that's been true when he was in Open, and that's certainly true in Carry Optics. But if you look, you've got to go 6 places to find somebody who shot as many points as him.
Yeah.
And that's
true.
And that person was 22 seconds slower than he was. Right. So that's insane. As you know, especially, I mean, Nils is a guy that's typically extremely accurate. And he was, you know, he had 27 less alphas than Max did. Mason, actually, who was second, was actually really close. Mason shot an incredible match, and you know, he was right there with Max in points. I mean, just a few. He had 6 less alphas than Max had, and Mason had 2 mics, and I think that was a target. If I was reading his Instagram earlier correctly, he actually did not engage a target.
Okay, so that's what the procedural is?
That's what the procedural...
That's Mike FTSA on stage 5.
Yeah, so otherwise, Mason actually shot that match clean, which is insane, because almost nobody did that.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
And it looked like really challenging stages. So he shot that match clean. Other than he hit every target he shot at. We'll just say that.
There you go.
Man, I hope someday people could say that about me.
Yeah, that'd be a great thing to say. And you know, I gotta, you know, Mason has. You know, Mason got in the sport when he was really young. I think Mason has grown a lot in the sport. Now he's one of the best shooters in the sport, obviously. But he made an Instagram post today where he was like, I think he said basically this was like probably one of the best, most complete matches he's shot as a Carry Optics shooter, in Carry Optics at least. And you know, he finished second, and he did not do the, well, basically I won because if I had shot the target, then I wouldn't have lost these 40 points. And so basically I won. And he was like, no, like that's part of my match. I skipped a target that another shooter didn't skip. And so I didn't win, and I didn't deserve to win. You know, I like, that's actually pretty refreshing to hear from a top guy, because oftentimes we hear more excuses than we do, anything than accountability. So I thought that was cool to see from Mason there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about, I mean, I guess it is often, but
Don't name names. Don't name names. Nobody knows who you're thinking of.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking, do a lot of people do that, or is it just a select few that do that?
I don't.
I think once you get out of the very top echelon, almost everyone does that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's really hard for me to listen to friends do that. Like, I kind of tune it out with my ears. Like, I nod and I say yes because I want to be a friend. But I'm like, yeah, if I shot more points faster, I also would have won.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, I mean, there's not many top shooters that do that, but yeah, once you get out of the upper echelon, like a lot of guys at locals talk like that. And I think, I don't
even say like tier 2, like the people who are clawing, you know, from, and I think 90% at big matches.
A lot of those guys, it's not necessarily, I don't think, there's them trying to discredit anything. I think it's more maybe ignorance of that's part of the game.
Yeah, like you want to use what if. That's totally fine. Just go through and take a couple seconds off everyone who beats you's time and get rid of their mics.
Yeah, that too.
No. And then you're one of those weird people, Jeff, who shoots better at matches than they do in practice.
Yeah. Jeremy
knows my pain of we're pretty good when we're out on the range by ourselves and nobody's watching. Like, we're pretty good. And so it's kind of hard to not judge other people's matches by my practice.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, that's so good. Yes, I love that.
But like, you're one of those opposite people, Jeff, where it's like you need the pressure and you need the match to show up.
Yeah, I guess. Dude, I don't really know what the deal is, but I do shoot better at matches.
It's just natural talent. It is a thing.
It is. It's natural talent.
Yeah.
That's how he came out the chute.
I mean, I will say this for myself, like, and we're getting off topic here, but I was actually thinking about this on the way here, thinking about like training and everything. And I was like I focus everything I do around match day. Like it doesn't matter to me what I can do in practice, what I can do in dry fire, numbers, like none of that shit matters to me. Like all I care about is training for match day. Like how's this going to affect match day? So that might have something to do with it.
Mindset.
Yeah. It's like, how am I going to embarrass Jeremy on match day?
Whatever works for you. Whatever works for you. I just hope you shoot well, Jeff. I want you to shoot really well. That's all I
will.
Man, it was a 3-year story arc for us to all figure out that Jeff was the villain.
I've been telling you guys, like I've been saying this from basically day one, and people didn't believe me. I think it's because he sounds like a goober, like, and so you're like, this, no way somebody sounds like that, and they're actually mean.
It's cover.
That's right.
So to get you back on track, like if you look at the rest of that sort of top 10 for carry optics. 7 of those people are on the super squad for carry optics nationals. So that sort of tells you who showed up for this match.
Yeah. So just to like say the names that were, we'll go down. There's kind of a break at about 12th place. So Max Michel won. Mason Lane was second at 98.6%. Jacob Heathering was third at 96.6%. Nils Jonassen was fourth at 95.7%. Jared Clanton, Jeff's boy from Ozarks, was fifth at 95.5%. And that's super impressive because he busted in between then JJ was sixth at 95.08%. So Jared busted into that kind of that top level of guys that, the 4 guys ahead of him and JJ there and below him, like those are like the 4 guys you expect to win carry optics nationals, right? And Jared got in there, so huge props to him.
Massive.
Then JJ at 95. Sean, it's Sean Griffith, right? In that Sean Griffith at 7th, 94.4. Tom Castro 8th, 94.08. What's Constantine's first name?
Hunter
Constantine was 93.8. Bradley Merriam was Brantley. I'm sorry, Brantley. I know that it's Brantley. I just said Bradley. I don't know why. 93.7. What's Story's first name?
Jeremy.
Oh, that's good first name.
Good strong first name.
Yeah, good solid first name. Jeremy Story at 92.4, and then Isaac Lockwood at 92.2%. That's kind of crazy to go that deep. Still in the 92 percentile, have 12 shooters deep, and Max Michel, Mason, Jacob Hetherington are at the match, right? Like you normally expect a bigger gap whenever you see those guys there. So a lot of really, really good shooters that had a lot of really good performances at the match in carry optics. Do you guys have like a biggest surprise whenever like you look at those results? Like, what's the biggest shock to you?
Biggest shock?
Is it like Max beating all those guys?
Shooting more points than everybody around him.
Okay.
I had two, and they weren't really like with the winners. Like, I wasn't really surprised to see those top four. One was to see Jared Clanton that high. That was very surprising. The other one was to see Luke Cow that low, down in 20th.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I haven't paid that much attention to Luke's. I'd have to go back to the competitor app and look at his stuff. I think that's pretty close to, I don't think he's that far out of his percentage range.
He might not be. There. I just would have expected him, top 15.
Yeah. No, I mean, you certainly don't just just number wise, placement wise, you don't expect to see him down there. Percentage wise, I don't think that's that far off.
I believe he is the first and only production optics light world champion there will ever be.
That's what it was. I was thinking that he had won like a major title recently.
He won the world shoot for production optics light. Yeah, IPSC. Which that production optics light is no longer a thing going forward in IPSC.
A little bit like being the modified world champion.
Yeah. Which is, Max's finish here is actually pretty impressive considering where he was at the world shoot, because there's some stuff that came out after the world shoot that I certainly didn't know on the health. I'm pretty sure it's health issue wise. He was dealing with some pretty bad health stuff. And I think he had a pretty, I think from what I've seen, like there was a lot to go into physical recovery to just get back to competing well. And so that was big for him. My biggest surprise is honestly seeing JJ in 6. Like, you just don't expect to see 5 people beat JJ at a match. Yeah. You don't expect 5 people to beat JJ at a nationals, and you certainly don't expect it at some match down in Odessa, Texas, that there's 5 people beat him.
But what was his unofficial finish?
Well, I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that one yet this time.
I wasn't sure if that had been released yet, so
I have not. I've not seen anything to that effect yet. So. Okay. Yeah, the crazy finish there. We got to move on. So the other division that was just crazy was limited. Gianni Giordano won. John Browning was in second, and Scott Brown was third. And the crazy thing about this is, one, that's a really good finish for Gianni coming off like. Johnny's last year, like Johnny's super young, right? And in 2021, like he was really like this up and coming, like he was the up and coming junior shooter, especially like in Iron Sights Limited. And then kind of last year, like his results, it's not that he had bad results last year. They just weren't, I didn't feel like they weren't quite as good as the previous year. But then Scott kind of started overshadowing Johnny just a little bit, especially with Scott's nationals finishing second at limited nationals last year. Is like, okay, I guess Scott's gonna be kind of the young up and coming guy. So to see Johnny come out and win this, but shoot ridiculously fast times. Johnny was super fast. Scott was. Dadgum, were there any carry optic shooters that were as fast as Scott was?
Tom Castro was 4 seconds faster, but other than that, nobody in carry optics kept up with Scott. He was 2 seconds faster than Max.
That's nuts.
So that's crazy. And here's the crazy thing. John Browning beat him, and he was 20 seconds slower.
Yeah. Very interesting there.
95% of points goes a long way.
Yeah, he knocked down a lot of points. A lot.
And John shot, he clipped one no shoot.
Yeah.
But he didn't have it, no mics. So hitting what you're aiming at affords you a lot of time.
It would appear that way.
A lot of time.
Although, in fairness, Johnny had 3 mics in the no-shoot. He was just also very, very fast.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny, his alpha count was a lot better than Scott's. Right, he had 30 more alphas. There's 30 points right there just in alphas alone, which, that more than one. I mean, that was basically the difference.
It's 46-point spread, and 30 of those points are alphas. Right.
So that many alphas in one mic, and then Scott's basically tied, right? So yeah, that's. I love seeing those finishes. And there was a pretty big jump off there to 4th place. But I love seeing limited be contested like that at that level, because those guys definitely were shooting really, really well.
And I think that the cool thing from home is I believe they were shooting on the same squad.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're friends. They've gotten to know each other because they're both just really excellent shooters.
Yeah, that is another interesting thing on this match. Like, how many of those top CO guys were actually shooting with each other? You know?
A lot of them.
Really?
Max Nils and JJ were on the same squad.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm guessing this isn't like they didn't have a designated, or they might have a designated like super squad type squad.
No, I don't think so. It was probably just guys just hopping on the same squad together. Yeah. The top guys are just like everybody else. They like shooting with other top guys for the most part, because like they enjoy that too. For the most part, because they're friends with them. There are some personalities that don't get along. That's obvious, but for the most part, like the guys that are really good shooters, they're friends with all the other good shooters because they see them at all the matches all over the country, and so it makes sense that they want to squad together and shoot together. The only one I do got to give my buddy Brett Thomas a shout out in production. Sal Luna won production. Casey Reid was second at 94%, and Brett was 89.29% of Sal. And Sal shot a really great match from what it looked like. Sal is one of the best, in my opinion, one of the top 5 best shooters in the country, I believe. So I have him. But for Brett to finish at 89% of them, 89 plus, like that was a big jump, because like a year ago he would have been 80% of them. So for him to finish there I was super excited for Brett. He's the guy that's local to me that helps me run matches, and we train together some and travel together some. So happy to see him shoot really well.
And Aaron Edens winning Open, always nice to see. I love Aaron. And the other interesting story, maybe not to y'all, but to me, is the second place in Open. Jun Kim is really I only know him as a carry optic shooter, sort of up and coming carry optic shooter in the last couple of years. Maybe he's Las Vegas based, I want to say, but I've never seen him in an Open match. I don't think he's classified.
Yeah, he's unclassified in practice score, at least on that.
That's a pretty strong finich.
Yeah, 97.4% of the 2022 Open national champion. Yeah, that's quite impressive. Yep. But yeah, Aaron seems like a really cool guy, so always happy to see him win. The AMU has a really strong team right now. To have 3 guys, the 3 guys that they have with Jacob, John Browning, and Aaron Edens, that's they have a really, really solid team. They almost always have good shooters, but they've got a really solid team going right now. Okay, that is Dragons Cup.
You forgot.
Glad to see it.
You didn't want to talk about PCC?
What's PCC?
PCC?
Oh, no. Max Leograndis won, right? He shot it, so he won. Okay.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
That's good enough. You guys can talk about PCC if y'all want to, but
I don't know anybody that shoots it other than Max.
Don't know anything about it. I mean, I see them. I'm aware they. I really.
What is PCC? I don't know.
I think that's fair. Let's move on from Dragon's Cup. So there has been some craziness in USPSA lately. We do not currently have a president. Well, I should say our vice president, which I think is Area 8.
Area 8, Ted Murphy.
Ted Murphy, who is our vice president, is currently serving as president as of right now, as far as I understand.
Although the president is still the president pending appeal.
Correct. But they've
eligible to serve as the president.
Correct. So, what I'm going to do.
Who could have ever seen any of these things happening when you change the bylaws really, really quickly for no real defensible reason?
It's shocking.
Who could have foreseen this? It's shocking.
I can't think of anybody within our 38,000 member organization that could have looked ahead. And
who was that really good limited shooter at Dragon's Cup? Because I feel like his dad called this exact scenario based on this specific bylaw 18 months ago.
Oh, he might have. But Pat,
all right, never mind. Carry on. Don't let me
Pat's crazy.
Slide.
Okay, so I'm going to lay out what my understanding of the situation is, and understand that USPSA has not put out an official statement yet that I've seen. And Yemen has not put out an official statement either, what I've seen. So we are going off of what, like Practical Shooting Insights. Obviously, Derek has been all over this, and posting just tons of stuff, and I can't keep up with everything that he posts. So, and obviously he's dealing with anonymous sources. He keeps his sources anonymous, which I totally understand why he does that. But I have to treat that with a certain amount of guardedness, even though he's not been proven wrong, but I still am going to treat this with a little bit of guardedness. Okay. So here's my understanding of the situation. Yemen was was ROing it was a level 2 match in California. And he was, I assume, the scoring RO. And my understanding is that when he was scoring some deltas, he called the deltas dicks instead of deltas. And and there was a formal that there may be more to that story, okay? There may be more to it, but that is what I have heard. And there was a formal complaint filed by Danny Minter, he's kind of had it out for Yemen. This is what I've also heard, that he's had it out for Yemen since before Yemen was president, trying to petition so that he couldn't even become president. And he doesn't like Yemen at all. And I think that's a fairly well known and accepted thing. So he filed a complaint with Troy, and Troy pulled Yemen's RO credentials. Am I wrong here?
No, eventually, but actually first there's an internal ARB committee for ROs. So the complaint first gets heard by a body of RMs who then recommend a disciplinary procedure. Okay. Up to and including pulling certification, which isn't an option available to that RM committee. Mm-hmm. Although, if we're to believe what's available to us, that is not what that RM committee recommended be done.
Yeah, now that you say that, I think they did not recommend pulling RO credentials. Again, we're kind of in the rumor mill, right? We haven't got an official statement.
No, all I'm doing is repeating what other people tell me on the social medias.
Yeah. So they did not.
High quality analysis that you get at 10:30.
Yeah. Yeah, we're doing what we can. But Troy did remove his RO credentials, so he's no longer an RO. Well, due to the fact that the board changed the bylaws a little while ago to, if you're going to be an officer on the board, you have to have a lifetime membership and you have to have an RO certification. Otherwise, you cannot serve on the board. And so by de facto, Troy removing Yemen's RO certification, he can no longer serve on the board.
Was he like aware of this bylaw change when he yanked the certification? He was like, I'm going to do this and it's going to cause this.
For the rumor mill, acutely aware of it.
Okay. I was just curious if he was just like yanking stuff willy-nilly and wasn't thinking about it, or if it was like very...
Like, for instance, maybe he thought Yemen had put a sticker on a porta potty or something, and he was just trying to do the right thing, and he didn't even realize there would be this fallout from it.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a tough time. I mean, it is Troy, so I guess Troy has demonstrated a lack of knowledge of the rules in the past. So maybe he was totally ignorant of this, but I have to kind of operate under the assumption that DNROI understands what the bylaws are in the sport that he is the final judge and authority for.
Just because it's fun to disagree with you in person after disagreeing with you in my head and listening to you for years. In fairness to DNROI, the bylaws aren't his.
That's true. That is true.
The laws of the game are, but the laws of the org are its own strange beast.
Yeah. So that is up for the viewers or the listeners to decide if they think Troy knew what he was doing and pulling Yemen's RO credentials.
Right. Or he like yanked it and then the board called him up and was like, what the hell, man? Now we have to freaking kick him out.
Well, that would be hard because it was Yemen who told the rest of the board members that he was no longer president.
So they didn't...
That tracks a little bit too.
Solid.
Oops.
Yeah. So, and then also like how it became known that, at least as far as I became aware, that Yemen was no longer serving as president, somebody tried to send him an email, and the email was turned as no, that is not a valid address anymore. So apparently, Donna Webb, is that her last name? Who is our executive director, managing director? What title? Managing director. That's the title. It was Kim was executive director. She's a managing director. Apparently, like, she just pulled all of Yemen's stuff, but there's a problem with that in that Yemen he's not just an officer on the board, he's actually an employee, and she doesn't quite have the authority to just make him not an employee without an appeals process and all of that for these reasons. So I think she jumped the gun a bit.
If applied to another member of the board who isn't an employee, you could just immediately terminate their board position, right? The moment you became aware.
Yeah, so that brings up a very interesting part of this discussion is that our lovely area 4 is the one that Jeff and I live in, not Potato. He's out of this area. Are you 7?
I am 7.
You're 7, okay. Our lovely area is Area 4. We just nominated, as an area, not personally, we just nominated Mel Rodero as our area director. And I believe there was, I'm going to get my dates wrong, but I'm going to shy on the low side. He had at least 150 days from the time he was elected to whenever he went into office to get his RO certification. He did not do that. He is still currently, we're almost 4 months through the year, he is still currently not an RO. So there's a problem with that. Mel has never been qualified to be in that position. And
well, I hope he didn't vote on limited optics, because then maybe we wouldn't really have limited optics.
Any vote he has cast since he has been in office is not a legal vote. Like he doesn't actually have the authority to cast that vote. And as such, the members of Area 4 have not had a representative on the board for the last 4 months. I don't know how Jeff feels about that.
Jeff?
That frustrates me quite a bit, that somebody that's going to be in that position can't take the time to take an RO class. And I know I have heard that he faced some extenuating circumstances with I believe he had a family member pass away. I think in the time before he went into office, and so there's that extenuating circumstance, and I 100% get that. There's a couple problems here with that. One, when the board changed the bylaws to require an RO certification, they were not smart enough to put in there any sort of way around that. It was black and white. You have to be an RO or not. There is no such thing as extenuating circumstances within the bylaws, and the board doesn't have the power to just ignore the own bylaws that they enacted. The other issue with Mel claiming extenuating circumstances is that we can go look at the matches that he shot in that time period and traveled to, and they are numerous. He was traveling and going to a lot of matches. So it's really tough to make a claim of emotional distress. And so that's why I couldn't take an RO class, but I have time to go shoot and try to compete in a bunch of matches. So
if you step back one level though, and I'm curious what Jeff would say, one level back, is having an RO certification a reasonable requirement to serve on the board?
RO certification. No, I mean, I think it would be helpful, to kind of understand the sport a little bit. That's always helpful when you're in charge of it, but I don't know about requirement.
I think an RO certification is a lot like a driver's license, right? It means you're allowed to drive. You're allowed to hold the tablet. You're allowed to hold the timer. You can work a match, and that's good. And someone at some point did sit next to you in the car and make sure you didn't run into anything, and you could do a 3-point turn, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean you're a good driver, and it doesn't mean you understand driving. It doesn't mean you know the law of driving. It means, and I don't know, I have an RO certification. I use it all the time. It's great. I don't know if I know any more or less about the rules than prior to when I had the RO certification.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want you to disagree with me, but you just look like you're beaten up by allergies, sir.
No, dude, it's this freaking camera. It really is. It's making me all red. I'm not red.
He doesn't have a studio space.
Look at my lips, dude. They're freaking pink.
They really are.
They're not really pink.
I apologize to the listeners. Jeff's giving pouty lip faces to the camera right now for our audio listeners.
If you don't watch this on YouTube, you just missed that amazing duck face.
Yes. Dude, my teeth are freaking yellow and my lips are pink. It's freaking.
Really hope somebody really needs to screenshot that on the. Yeah, whenever Jeff's doing the duck face, we need a new meme. But no, I think the RO requirement to being on the board, I think that was silly. I don't totally understand what their goal was in instituting that. Because then when Leighton went in, that's he had to go and rush to get an RO certification really quick. Well, if you're trying to get people on the board that are ROs, just requiring that, they just go get it the day before. So if you just sit through the class, that doesn't mean you're an RO. That doesn't mean you're good at RO. It means you sat through a class. It's that's all. You spent a weekend sitting through a class paying Troy or one of the other RMs to.
But okay, so also, how do you get an RO certification? Who decides that?
So you attend a 2-day seminar that is put on by the Range Master Institute. So an RMI, a Range Master instructor, can come out and offer these 2-day seminars. Day 1 is classroom instruction. Day 2 is practically running people on a range. It's really about familiarization with range commands and scoring calls.
Yeah.
And then annual recertification through an online portal. If you pay out of pocket, you're going to pay about $60. When I went to get my RO certification, I paid $60 for the course, $120 for the hotel room, and whatever it cost me in gas to drive 4.5 hours away. For doing that, I now have the privilege of performing about 5% worse at every local map.
Yeah. So the RMI is the one that bestows the RO certification on you?
Well, it's signed off on by DNRI, but you have to pass the test afterwards. So you need that instructor to sign off on it, and then you pass the test. It used to be paper, moved online a few years ago, and it's an open book test. It's about where to find the rules, not about sort of knowing the rules, which I don't have a problem with. I think it's people know where to find the rules, not that they memorized them.
So ultimately,
gives people a lot of insight into what divisions should be where and what competitive equity means and what a lot of the kind of challenging questions that the board has decided it needs to answer. I'm not sure they needed to answer, but they've decided they need to answer. I'm not sure that RO certification bears on those.
So ultimately, DNROI says you're an RO.
Yep. Also says you're not an RO, as we just talked about. Which is the third time that anyone knows of it happening. The other one was the Paul Hendricks +2.
So are there any laws in place that he can't just bestow somebody an RO?
Oh, they have to pass. I'm pretty sure it's in there that they have to pass the class.
And if your certification is revoked, then there's a process by which you're ineligible to hold RO certification either forever or for a period of time.
So what we know about Yi-Man, this was not him cheating. This was not him not knowing the rules or anything like that. This was
him being his authentic self. If you've been on he runs, he's kind of a jocular guy who wants to have a good time and wants to joke around. And
so this is actually kind of like a back door to fuck people with.
Yes.
Right?
Now
so
the front door.
Jeff. So if you had somebody that you or a group of people didn't like as a board member, they could all file very official complaints and try to get RO certification revoked and hence remove them from the board.
Yeah, and it would be at the sole discretion of the DNROI, regardless of what the appeals board of RM said about the complaint.
Interesting.
Yeah, so basically, it's irrelevant in who the membership selects as president. If Troy doesn't like him, or if they don't like them as a whole, then they can just simply remove him, just simply by pulling his RO credentials. Which that seems to be an issue that should be addressed immediately. And the biggest problem with that is the seemingly they like Mel, so they want to just offer him. They've given Mel an extension to get his RO certification, is what the board has done about that, and they can't actually do that under their own bylaws. They're just doing that. They're just making that up as they go, and that's kind of that's the whole crux with the board and the image that they're putting out right now is. The way they treated Hopkins, and getting him gone, getting Yi-Man gone, and then by their keeping Mel because they like Mel and he's going to vote status quo. He has so far, and all of his ineligible votes have all been status quo with the rest of the BOC. So that's a frustrating thing with the board, and I don't know how to I
would love to have less board, a lot less board. Really, yes. I don't think we need a board. I don't think we're an organization that needs a board that's got that meets regularly and does things. I think we print money by charging clubs to run USPSA matches. We print it. because we give those clubs literally nothing. There is a server somewhere that records classifier uploads, but we provide nothing to those clubs besides a piece of paper that says they're eligible to run matches. And I don't even think we send a physical piece of paper necessarily anymore. Maybe we do. So we print money for matches. What do we need a board for? Well, you need it for rule stability, and we haven't had a lot of that. You need it to put on the best possible competitions on a national scale that an individual club could never possibly host, like, I don't know, some dirt pit in Odessa.
Right.
So, I mean, it's good timing that Dragons Cup did such a good job right when the board's not doing a good job, because it's like, what is the value that they bring? So I would have said, you know, an even younger and even dumber me would have said, oh, the board is great because they're the only ones who can have the national reach, right, to sort of deliver USPSA on a national scale. That doesn't appear to be the case. So I'm not sure, other than a frequently changing rule book, what they do. And this is not even a personal attack against the individual board members, because I am certain they will spend 30 hours in the next month dealing with the wreckage of these board decisions. So, like, their lives will be unpleasant. They will get hundreds of emails from members. People will call them. People will, like, give them side-eye at matches, right? Like, their life will be unpleasant, and they will feel like, we're working really hard for this organization. We just spent 30 hours on this. It's like, yes, but you spent 30 hours cleaning up a mess that had no reason to exist. That's entirely the creation of bylaw changes that nobody asked for and that nobody needed. Right. And so it's like, if you go around breaking things and then complain about spending your entire life cleaning up the mess, you're the problem, right? Like, what do the members get from the board? I don't know. I'm a member, so I'm kind of curious. Like, what does the board give me that I can't get from someone?
Well, I mean, Ted Murphy represents you, and he is your voice of reason.
Which is hard because I don't live in Area 8, so I never got to vote for the guy.
Oh, that's rough. Oh, wait, you're in Area 7. I'm sorry. You're inArea 7. Who do you have? Frank Rizzi?
Frank Rizzi. Yep.
Yeah.
Staten Island matches. New in the position. January 1st was his first day.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what you get, is you get your representative on the board. You know, I've thought this for a long time. If the board would just stop meeting, like just don't meet, like meet quarterly or biannually, and
less
governance. Like I actually think like their lives would be easier. Like I think the membership would be happier. Like if we just never heard about the board, like we would think better of them.
So like my kids go to the local YMCA for stuff. Sometimes I go there. They have a board. I've never heard of them.
Right.
Do you know why? Because like the building's open when I go to it, and like the pool is clean, and like there's karate for the kids or whatever, right? Like I don't need to know what they're doing because,
yeah, I fully agree.
And it doesn't mean they're doing a bad job. They're doing a great job by being invisible and not making anything.
I think that's a sign of a good board is if you just don't like hear, like you aren't aware of them. Obviously, with all of the bannings that have happened, with just poor treatment of people, the bylaw changes, the rule changes, all just it's like every time they meet, they're just like, how can we screw with people today?
Well, and this is my big rant is just so now that I have you captive, I'll give it to you. So many of our problems in the last 7-8 years have come from this notion that we need to grow the sport. And there's like a lot of sort of natural limits around what ranges can host what and all of that. People have discussed that quite a bit. But I also just don't think it's true. Like, I don't think we need to grow the sport. I think we need to have the good version of the sport we have. And the comparison I have is I've got a sister-in-law who's an ultra marathoner, right? Mm-hmm. How do you grow ultra marathons, right? Like, how many people are going to go out and run 100 miles, right? Like, well, last year, 75,000 in the U.S., 75,000 unique individuals, like 750,000, because a bunch of them run multiple races, but 75,000 like unique people. There's probably not that many more people who want to run an ultra marathon. You know, we got, if you include like all the action shooting sports, maybe 100,000 people who want to run around dirt pits with guns. Like, if we did a really good job of recruiting, what would it be, 110,000? Right? Like, it's not a sport for everybody. And it doesn't need to be. So I don't know if growth, and if we're a really good version of ourselves, the people we want to play will find us. We won't be able to keep them out. And if we're trying to open the door because growth by itself justifies the logic of having a board that spends hundreds of thousands of dollars doing board stuff, because then they get more members to pay for the board to do more board stuff, but the quality of the sport is in no way enhanced, I fundamentally don't understand that. So, I mean, I think even the knowledge, the logic of a business or growing USPSA is misguided. I think just make USPSA good, and the right people will show up.
Yeah, I agree.
Not doing much.
I fully agree, and also like they will look to and point. Well, look at all this growth that we've done. Well, guess what? Like, do you know like the number of new gun owners in the because of political issues like in the last like 5 years? Like, have you looked at those statistics? I don't have those statistics in front of me currently. Like the number of guns that were sold and the number of new gun owners is through the roof. Like, I mean, it's astronomical. Of course, we're gonna have growth in our sport because you have millions and millions and millions of more guns on the market. People buy a gun, they want somewhere to go shoot it. Okay, where are we going to go shoot it? So like they can claim all this growth, but I don't know that they deserve a whole lot of the responsibility for that. Personally, you know, there's probably ways that people can track the metrics on all that, and you could do surveys that would tell you, but that would require them to actually put effort into a legitimate survey, not just stuff that they make up late at night. I
mean, like at my local club, we softly recruit for action shooting just because it's one of the ways to join the club. You got to go and be supervised shooting 3 times. Well, when can you be supervised shooting? Well, there's matches up on this calendar. Show up there you go. Now club members have seen you shoot, right? So, I mean, things like that USPSA doesn't send us marketing materials or flyers or like go out there and shake people's hands. It's like, if you want to join our gun club, you're going to be exposed to practical shooting.
Right. So then you guys are actually the ones recruiting for USPSA, and all they have done is charge you. They have charged you to recruit to their to their business.
We pay for permission to use their materials to bring people in, which again, I don't have a problem with. I'm okay with printing money for the org as long as it just turns around to make awesome matches.
Right. Yeah, I think that's where I hope most people are, because there's a lot of people out there, at least social media, saying I'm not going to renew, I'm not going to re-up, I'm not going to become a member, blah blah blah. Like, I mean, you can do that, but like I'm perfectly fine giving USPSA money because I like the sport. Like they did create the sport. So like there's that, you do owe them a somewhat from that point, not the current board. But yeah, I'm fine paying USPSA so that we have an organized sport. We have a national sport. I think that's good. I don't want the whole world to go outlaw. That's not, I don't think that's beneficial to anybody. But yeah, there should be a little bit maybe more recognition for that both directions, for sure. Let's see. Okay, the other thing that the board did recently, which has gone a little bit I think it's gone a little bit unnoticed because of all the stuff with Ye-Man and with Mel not being RO and Ye-Man getting pulled and all of that, is the board actually voted to reduce the salary of the presidential position even lower. So they reduced it another $10,000. I think the salary is now $50,000 a year for president.
In fairness, and this is where we definitely disagree, the president isn't the president anymore. They are just an at-large board member. They have no responsibilities that the president used to have. They're just another person on the board, plus they run nationals.
They run nationals,
and they RD for IPSC, right? So they are
that for IPSC, and they're also required to travel to every area match and all the nationals. So you're at, last year there were 5 or 6 nationals that includes Steel Challenge. So I assume Steel Challenge Nationals and Steel Challenge Worlds, which is kind of weird that there's a nationals and there's a world speed shooting championship. So the president's got to be at both of those. So multi-gun nationals, and all the other handgun nationals, they have to be at the annual IPSC. So there's actually a lot of travel that's required of the president. I mean, we're talking probably close to 20 weekends that's required of the president.
Yeah.
And so, is that is it a full-time gig or a part-time gig? Yes. Potato's right that I'm sorry. I know you're Saul, but you're just going to be Potato.
I've been a Potato my whole life. I'm glad people are finally coming around to seeing that.
There we go. That's perfect. He is right in that the board stripped him of stripped the president, not him. It could be a she, it could be a her. But they stripped the president of much of the power and gave it to the managing director. Here's the problem with that, is that then they stripped power from an elected position. So they took power away from the members of the org and they gave it to a person that the board assigns, that gives it. So they took power for themselves and took it away from the members. That's the problem. I personally feel like by them reducing the pay of the president, that they are further reducing the power of that position, because they are reducing the number of people who want to apply for it. The 2 area directors who made the motion for that to reduce the salary, and then second it was Area 3 and Area 7. I'm not sure which one motioned for it and which one seconded it, but it was those 2. They are the 2 new area directors. They were kind of heralded to be the anti-board directors to go in. That they're gonna change things. They're gonna be different than the old board. I think in their minds they're thinking, well, we've got to get a handle on our spending in this sport, and so if anywhere that we can reduce spending, we're going to do that. And so they reduced it there. And we actually have one of them is on the Discord, and he said, what they did as a board is they looked at the national average for a full-time position, and our president, that's supposed to be a part-time position, is getting paid more than the national average for the full-time position. And so that they feel fully justified. Yes.
I thought he was okay.
Yeah, so the president was making more than the national average for a full-time position. And so they feel like since it's a part-time position, they need to lower it to be beneath that.
Yeah. I mean, I think your argument was pretty sound in that it's like what other part-time position requires 20 weeks of travel and like basically takes away your ability to work any other job.
Well, in fact, most positions that require 20 weeks of travel consider that full-time because of the challenges of travel. And you work month on, month off.
Yeah. Because if you counted all those hours, so like all the hours that person is actually not at home, like I guarantee you, it's a full-time job. So I think treating that like a part-time position is dumb, and using that as justification to reduce the salary is dumb. Yeah, I think it's all dumb. If you call me Jared, it's dumb.
No, I think that's fine. The question that I posed to them, to that person, was, okay, you guys use that logic for the president's position, then by that logic, every single person on staff at USPSA that's a full-time position, are they simply making the national average for what a full-time position is paid? Or are we only going to apply that logic to a position that's elected by the members? That's where there's an issue with that, because they just took a national average.
Now I get what you're saying is, hey, if we're only going to reduce the salary of the ones the members choose, but the ones the organization, where there's a split between the organization, which now has its own sort of structure in life, and the members, and their compensation is determined by themselves, essentially.
Right.
I'm sorry, by the board.
Right. Yeah, like if we're going to apply that logic to that position, we should apply that logic to every position. And
I don't want to hurt our director of IT. It's not his fault.
It's not his fault. But what should Troy be? Should Troy be making the national average? Because I'm guessing
the national average for the director of the National Range Officer Institute.
Well, no, they didn't take as far as my understanding, they didn't take a national average for a specific position. It was just a national average for a full-time, like a full-time employee.
I'm just curious what the average DNROI salary is.
Yeah. Too much. It's too much. He gets paid way too much is all I know. So yeah, I don't like that. There have been some people that lurk on our Discord that have thought I've been very unfairly critical of Area 3. I believe that's Scott Arnberg, and have voiced their displeasure with other members in Area 3 that I need to shut my mouth when I'm talking about Scott.
Have they got you?
I don't.
I mean, if they've been listening to you for the last 3 years, like no offense intended, it just doesn't seem like we got to quiet Jeremy up about this. Let's mention it.
Yeah, I mean, you could try. It's a good approach to try, but yeah. So.
Can I rudely interrupt, because there's a thing I gotta bug Jeff about this. Is he posted a thing on the Discord about dry fire feeling spectacular?
Yes, yeah. Thank you so much.
I have no idea what that means, and that sounds amazing.
I have no idea either. It sounds great. Like, what does that mean? I think that's a great question.
It just means everything was clicking. Like, I was hitting the draws just like I wanted to. The mags were going in the gun just like I wanted to. The gun was coming up right where it was supposed to. It was just like everything was going how I wanted it to go for the whole session. And finally, I just hung it up, and I was like, damn, that was good. That was really good.
So did you learn anything?
No, it just felt good.
Okay.
Yeah. No, right now is not the discovery phase of dry fire for me.
Oh,
right now
you're just I just want my body to do what I tell it to do.
Yeah, it's just time to get reps in and try to create those neural pathways, I guess, if you wanted to put it that way. Yeah, that's all it is. It's just getting reps in and trying to do the right things that I know are right. This is not a time of discovery, really. Or it's not supposed to be. I'm not saying I haven't discovered things, but that's what it's supposed to be. And that's what spectacular means. It means it was exactly how I wanted it to feel.
And you put in 40 confounding variables, so you have no idea why it's spectacular.
Yeah. So kind of like I mentioned earlier, everything that I do is thinking match day. What's going to make me better on match day? So I'm doing all these things. I make tiny little tweaks throughout my entire life. And this is ridiculous. Nobody should do this, but it's
don't worry, nobody will.
Yeah. It's I consciously spend more time standing up throughout the day, because I want to be able to fatigue less by the end of a match. So throughout my work week, I sit on my ass for a living. And so I have a stand-up desk that I don't often use, but from here until the end of the season, I'll be trying to stretch out and stand as much as I can during the day, because I want to be very comfortable on my feet for 12 hours. And for somebody that doesn't sit on their ass, like, they probably think I'm a pussy for even saying that. But for someone who does sit on my ass, like, it's a big deal. And I'm very soft when it comes to standing on my feet for a long period of time because of how much I sit. So fighting back against that is a big deal and has an effect for me. So little things like that.
Places to train, like, everywhere, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw a guy last week who's been around shooting for 20 odd years, but is getting really into it right now. And he was talking about driving. And so he's gripping the steering wheel, trying to isolate his trigger finger.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He's trying to grip the steering wheel with, like, maximum perfect pressure, as if it's a handgun. You know, as on the highway, working his finger without any sympathetic movement.
Great. Jeff has another idea.
Yeah, that's a good example. Another thing is, like, I can see outside from my office here, and I'll practice changing focal depth.
Yep, focal depth changes. Yep, you're like, all right, I'm going to pick up that fire hydrant, that little knurl on the tree, and then I'm going to bring it right back into the...
Yeah, I'll, like, look at the edge of my monitor, and then I'll pick, like, a power pole outside, and I'll just practice going back and forth. And just little things like that I'm doing all the time. Yeah. And it's all with match day. Kicking Jeremy's ass in mind.
I'm just like, I just want to go fire 100,000 rounds a year.
Well, you know what is way cheaper than firing 100,000 rounds?
Looking at electrical poles?
Yeah, looking at poles and standing up.
I thought the hotness was target focus, so you didn't need to change focal depths.
Oh no, you have to change focal depths because targets change.
Yeah.
So like that's actually like if you go from a far target to a close target, especially once you get a little bit older, what you'll find with iron sights, like you go from a far target to a close target, you'll be waiting on your eyes to sort of bring that close target into focus.
Oh, so then sight focus is better because your focal depth doesn't have to change; it just stays on your sight.
Because you move back and forth.
It's faster.
You still got to look at the target so you know where you're shooting.
There's a blur out there. There's a blur out there.
You just index on the blur, send it to, and wonder why it went wrong.
Yeah, it works. It works. No, I actually am glad that you asked that question of Jeff because, I didn't know what a spectacular dry fire session is. That also shows the difference between Jeff and myself because, for instance, I know Jeff plays a little bit of golf. Potato, you ever play golf?
I have, but I'm
Okay, so like I'm a decent golfer, like single digit handicap, and like if I go to the range,
the topic of golf has come up. Carry on.
Yeah. So like if I go to the driving range and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the range. I'm just going to try to hit, like, I'm not going to try to shape the ball any different. I'm just going to try to hit my driver and just get a consistent shot. So I'll hit three great ones. And I'm like, oh, well, I've got this locked in. So now let's try to cut the ball. And then now we'll try to draw the ball. And so then I start jacking with my swing. And then all of a sudden, like 5 shots later, I can't hit the ball straight to save my life. Like I have no clue. And the same thing in dry fire, like if it was going spectacularly, as Jeff said, for me personally, like if I hit like a couple draws that like you just nail it and then you hit a couple reloads and just nail it, at that point I'm like, okay, how fast? It's going good now. How fast can we possibly make this go? Rather than just like staying in this groove and it's feeling good, like kind of staying in that groove. It's like, oh, well, I got that down now, so let's just rip it all up and try to do something crazy.
In your golf example, for me, then the fun would be to get back to hitting it straight.
Right? Yeah, but that's the problem. You've screwed it up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But then spending all that time getting it back, it's like I'm a little bit like the board in my own training. Yes, and then I create a really big mess, and then I get very busy cleaning it up. And then once I put it back the way it was to begin with, I'm like, good job, me.
Yeah.
So, dude, so you're probably like super close to optimal. So from what I've read, 15% failure rate is a good learning zone. So let's say you're doing 10 reps of reloads. Like, try to do 5 perfect, and for the next 5, push it a little bit and try to fail for 2, right?
We don't ever try to fail, but you accept
I just try every time, and I fail about 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
And that's been true since I started USPSA. But I'll tell you what, I don't really miss reloads in matches. But my fire reload, I missed 3 out of 10, and that number's been constant.
Hey, it's the match reloads that matter anyway, so who cares?
That's true.
I say that I miss match reloads all the time. But in my story about myself, I don't. So it's not something I have to worry about.
Well, you're shooting carry optics mostly now, so you do like, if it's a 10-stage match, you might do 6 reloads in the whole match.
That's about right.
Yeah.
That's about right. I'll shoot IPSC Nationals again this year. That means half the stages you do a reload because half of them are short work. 12 rounds.
Yeah.
Right.
So have you been dry firing, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Are you training? Did you give up?
No. So Jeff has finally decided like he's into the season this year, like, and he's like serious about. You can tell like all of a sudden like he's posting like long diatribes in the training on Discord, like and it's all. And it's not just about these weird workout moves where he's jacking up his knees. It's actually like actual dry fire stuff. Like that excites me and motivates me. Like, all right, good. I have somebody to actually compete against, not somebody that's just gonna like probably still beat me, but just gonna half try at it. Like I've got somebody that's actually trying. So no, I'm very motivated currently as far as like shooting and training and dry fire. Very much want to, like, I wish I could go shoot a local this weekend. I don't have anything anywhere near me.
Yeah.
But
are you signed up for Area 4 though?
I am not signed up for Area 4. I have. Jeff did sign up today. I've heard that range is very suboptimal for an area match. Like it's really a stretch to have a level 2 on it, and to have an area match is like chances are it's not going to be much of an area match. That's just what I've been told. So I'm not like really wanting to go shoot that match. And I can't remember what time of year it was.
It's June 14th or 15th or something.
Months less.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not signed up for it. I think I'll probably, if I want to make a last minute decision on it, I don't think it's going to sell out. So I could probably get in last minute if I wanted to.
I honestly don't think you should let Jeff be the Area 4 champion again. And I kind of think the hopes and dreams of your legions of fans, Jeremy,
that is somewhat
kind of the only person who can stop Jeff. If there's anyone in Area 4 who can stop Jeff, it's going to be you.
That actually is fair. I have to think about that and consider taking one for the team, because I do like. I am excited about the direction my shooting is going right now.
Get it done.
No. Well, he's probably shooting limited optics in the provisional division anyway.
He's shooting single stack.
Oh,
he signed up.
Singles.
Yeah, he signed up for it anyway. Yeah, I mean, I'm not shooting Area 4 because I'm excited about Area 4 or anything. It's like I wanted some matches a couple months away that were a month or 2 before Area 3. So I found some matches in June, and that happened to be one that's close to me. So I'm going to do it all in one day, 2 hours away. It's probably 12 stages. Drive, shoot, drive home.
I may show up just to kick Jeff's butt.
I hope you do.
So we'll see. We will see. But no, like I'm trying to get myself back to where I used to really relish competition. Mm-hmm. And like the more you invested into it, it's more like I just don't want to screw up. right? And so,
oh, that's a terrible way to shoot.
It is.
Not make a mistake.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Oh, I fully agree.
Like, and then you do make the mistake, and then you just feel gutted, and then you go and make some more mistakes.
Yeah. Like, so, like,
set yourself free.
I
like
Free Willy.
Have all
Free Willy, right?
Anxiety when you're training, and then when you shoot, just show up and shoot.
Exactly, like that. So that I'm getting myself back to where it's like, oh no, like the actual competitive aspect is what I am looking forward to and relishing in competition. And so,
have you had the actual conversation with yourself when they're like, all right, Jeremy Reid's up, and like you're walking up there and you're like, I want to be here. I want to be here. You don't want to be there?
It's never been that I didn't want to be there, but it wasn't a, hey, now it's time to go show them how good you are.
Yeah, now I'm gonna like manifest what I am, what I can.
Right, like it's always been more of, it's all like in recent, like I want to get back to that. It kind of got to a point where it was just more of, I know every single way that this stage could go wrong.
It kills me when you talk like that, right? Like it's, you know how Jeff thinks? He thinks, man, I'm going to go express myself on this stage, right? Like this stage is like a blank canvas and I'm about to like slap my paint all over, right? That's how you walk up to the stage and you're like, oh, better paint inside the lines. If I paint outside the lines, the picture will be ruined.
Yeah. So that's where I'm getting myself back mentally to that. And partly because I'm starting to see good things in my shooting in practice, which I've said before, but it does feel like it's like the things that I've been working on are becoming more consistent. So I am looking forward to competitions this year, and trying to just look forward to the competitive part of it.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. It's going to be a good season, dude. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I am too. I'm pretty excited about this season. It should be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
And kicking Jeff's butt will be even more fun.
There you go.
You might have to put Area 4 to do it.
You know what?
It sets up an epic rematch at Area 3, which is probably going to be one of the better majors this year.
Area 3, I actually have high expectations. Hopkins is running it.
Like a level of stages and like flow and like division agnosticism, it should be.
Yep. Yeah, Area 3 is going to be good. I honestly, like, Jeff can beat me at Area 3. If I go to Area 4, he can beat me there. Nationals, I'm going to crush him. And IPSC Nationals, I'm going to crush him.
All right. I mean, I'm just going to interrupt you right here because I've heard you say this for years. It's like, no, you're going to beat him at every match.
That's true.
And you have to believe that. And when it doesn't happen, you don't like say, you know, you unofficially beat Jeff. Right. You commit to beating him at the next one, because it's like, if you're like, oh, none of these things really matter, you're giving yourself an out to not like play with that pressure.
Yeah. No, I'll beat him so bad that even when he cheats, I'll still beat him.
No, because here's what happens if we go to 3 other matches before Nationals and I win, which we've already done one. I've already got one under my belt. Is like, I'm building momentum and confidence, and it's like the next match is just like, I'm going to show up and do it again, except it's going to be worse this time. Because I've been working.
Pride comes before the fall.
The fall of Jeremy Reid.
It's going to be a good season. I actually am looking forward to it.
Like, you've said for years, you're like, Nationals is the only match I care about.
Yep.
You have said that, yeah.
And you've said that a lot. And it's like, and you're crippling yourself. Because it's like, if you cared about some of these other matches, you don't have to care about your locals. If you cared about some of these other matches, you'd have all of them would be better.
Yeah, that's probably true. There's probably some legitimacy to that.
You gotta train that muscle, man. That I'm gonna show up and fuck shit up muscle.
Did you see his crazy eyes? I'm so glad I could see that because I never would have come across when I was just audio. But like just the moment he said that, his eyes like got wide and sort of bugged out, and it's like his crazy eyes came out. It's like, yeah, that's the man we're all afraid of. He took those eyes to the raccoons and then left.
Yeah, that's what the smelling salts brings out of Jeff.
Oh yeah.
Those crazy eyes. That's why he likes the smelling salts.
Yeah, dude. Did we talk about that on the podcast yet?
Yeah.
Did we? I know I said it in the Discord, but I wasn't sure if we said it on the podcast.
I think we did, but we're at an hour and a half for this one, so we don't have time for smelling salts. But Potato, Saul, thank you for coming on. What is that in the background?
That's my white shepherd.
Oh, okay. It looked like
would be upstairs in the guest room.
Okay, it looked like a cat because it looked really small.
It did look like a cat.
It just the fisheye lens. The fact that it's that looks much better. The fact that it's a shepherd means that you're that much cooler. I wish I had Kenobi to put in the background of mine, but that's a good boy. See, now I like you a lot because I thought you had a cat and I was like, oh, I don't like him. Maybe we won't invite him back on. But you have two shepherds, right?
I do.
Yeah, so he definitely Potato can come back on if Potato wants to.
I also have two cats though.
Yeah, because we need to have Potato back on to talk about Potato, because we're just like, normally the first time people come on we talk about them, and then later we come on and talk about topics, but this time we're just like, no, we just want your input on topics.
Mid-pack person with spicy opinions about the board, I think of my billing, right? Nobody was like, man, I want to train like that guy. I too look forward to
No, when we have less going on with if the board ever stops meeting and stops making crazy decisions, then we will definitely have Potato on for to talk about Potato's shooting. And Potato's also is my running challenge partner, but he needs to beat my mile 5K or 10K time.
What's your 5K at? I feel like it was 22 and change, right? Or was it 21?
I thought I was in 21.
No, you're in the 21s. You're correct.
I was 21:47.
Yeah, I ran a 5K today, but I was not 21:47.
I could not do that today. I can promise you that.
I was not even close to that. That may have to wait until next year in the off season, because I'm following the Jeff plan of the like functional exercise that makes me shoot better, as opposed to makes me stronger or makes me faster in ways that don't show up on a stage.
I feel like you can incorporate training for a mile and a 5K within that.
Yes, I think you're right. I think more speed work would help. But I mean, it's pretty rare that you would find a stage where you can even get up to the pace you'd run a 5K.
Well, but I think for you, part of your we keep going. But for you, part of the problem with your 5K time is you're carrying around 15 to 20 pounds too much.
That's a really generous Reid. Like double that number and we'll start talking.
Well, I was okay. So, but like, so
if I was like 165, right? Like,
do we need to do a physique check right now? Is that what we're doing?
We need a follicle check. We haven't got a follicle check for this. Yeah, we need to see that.
Show me that.
Look how much extra hair there is. So much growth.
So I'll trade you.
Wow.
My front hair, and I'll take your back.
Beard. There you go. There's a follicle check. There's a follicle check.
But I do think because what slows your 5K down, what keeps you from beating me in a 5K is those extra pounds. I also think those would massively help your explosive movement in USPSA as well.
I think I'd shoot really well at 180 pounds. That's about 5 pounds off where I am.
Yeah. So like, but I mean, you're talking, I mean, yeah. So that's going to,
all of my matches are in the next 2 months, so I'm not going to this is not going to be this year.
Oh, yeah, that's the problem with dropping weight when you're trying to train for performances. You might have issues recovering and lose muscle mass, get weaker.
You pick up some joint injuries.
Might get sick.
Jeff, not everybody's body is as weak as yours, and it just falls apart just randomly. Just
I disagree. I disagree. I think most people's are.
Yeah, I think we've covered this before. It's Jeff's threshold for discomfort is so low. He doesn't agree.
At
some point, he'll get a real clarifying moment of, oh my goodness, that's what pain is.
Yes, yes, I love it. So on that, thank you for pointing out Jeff's weakness, and not only physical but mental weakness as well. And
I didn't actually do that one, but anyway,
I felt like it was close enough that I'll just attribute it to that. So, but thank you guys for listening. Please go to Shooters Connection, use the link, and buy any of the stuff that you need for shooting. Pasters, targets. They have virtually anything you need to compete in this sport. So go to them, go buy it, use the link, and thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next one. If you have any questions or anything, send it to us, and we will try to discuss it on a future podcast. If you want Potato to come back on, let us know, which means that you listened all the way to this point of the episode. But we love critiques. You can critique him if he was terrible. Like, that's fine too, because that's just fine too. What do you got, Jeff?
If you want to join the Discord, check out the Patreon link. There is that. We haven't talked about it in a while, so if you want to get in the Discord, that's how you do it. There's two ways.
And for those of you that have contributed, and Shooters Connection for sponsoring the show, we have some money that Jeff actually hasn't blown yet, and so we have exciting.
Shout out.
Yes, Headland. We didn't give him a Patreon shout out. Jeff didn't. Did you ask him another one?
I just did.
Oh, you just did. Oh, great, Jeff.
Right now. No.
Yeah, right before you said that. We'll give it a second. Sorry, we have to record longer.
Okay, but so we have some options of things that we are discussing on doing with that money, which should be pretty cool in the future.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited about that.
The number one A1 option is actually. Do we want to tell them what our first option is right now?
No, don't tell them. Not yet.
Okay. I mean, I don't think that more than 5 people will make it to this point in the podcast, but that's okay. We're waiting on John Headland. Can we give... Okay, John Headland, we're going to give your boy Daniel Hughes with Recoil Built on Instagram a shout-out. He's awesome. A shout out to Ryan Barnes with Blue Lube for making awesome products. A shout out to John Triplett on joining the 2011 Master Race. And a shout out to Henjuri Quell for being a supreme sandbagger. So we've covered all your shout outs here tonight in the past, and we'll blame Jeff for not speaking to you earlier about getting a shout out.
Yeah, sorry, I was a little out of my element in this new space. We'll do better next time.
You are up late. It is an hour later in Maine, on part of the country. So thank you for coming on late, and really did enjoy the conversation.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. Take care.